Hello and welcome to the Side 1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and in this video, part 2 of the MR4 robot, we're working on the sonar system. So in order to mount the small sonar device, in this case a HC-SR04, I needed something to hold it. So I designed this in FreeCAD. So in here is where our sonar unit will eventually live. It's got provision for the wires to it, the back end of the connector to go poke through, and also a spot for the little the crystal oscillator that's on the board to poke through. These two holes are big enough for the two sonar sensors, the transmit and receive, to go through. But more importantly, on the bottom I have provision for a servo horn to be attached in there. And what I've done is, once I've got the servo horn in there, I will drill through with a small drill, probably maybe 1.8 mil, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller even, and then use a very small screw to go through the horn and secure it back into this piece. The other piece that I need, so I created this part as well in FreeCAD, and this fits on top of the MR4 tank in the space that was left after our Arduino Uno was mounted. And there's provision in the top here for a standard size servo to fit. I'll be using a JX Servo 5521MG 180 degrees digital servo, and that will fit in there quite nicely. I've also added this hole here for the wires from the sonar sensor, or the ultrasonic sensor, to go through and into the bottom of the robot. In order to make this, what I first did was create a sketch. We zoom out a little bit. So the sketch was basically just a rectangle, which I then extruded, or padded as the FreeCAD calls it. I then created another sketch, which are two parallel lines, or two parallel rectangles, which are then padded out, and that's these parts here. Then I created a pocket. Actually, no, I created another pad. That'll be the two flat plates. I did have to modify these a little bit down the track. I made them a bit too thick when I first created them. I padded that out as well, and this allowed all those parts to join together into one big part. I then created a sketch that had the size of the servo hole, plus the holes for mounting it, and that hole for the wires to go through, and I used a pocket function to cut that out of this frame that I'd built. I then exported that as an STL, and I printed that using my resin printer, along with this one, which after I printed it out, let's just get to the top. And I also put a hole through the top here as well. So this is a hole here to get to the screw on the servo horn to secure it down to the servo. And this one here is a hole for a screwdriver to go through. So you'll see how I'd use that when we get to the video side of it. Okay, so now that I've printed them, these are the two parts that I've created. So this will clip into the top of the robot, and it's got the same three holes in it as the mount for the Arduino Uno has, and that'll mount that, screw that down to the body of the robot so it doesn't move. But before we do that, let's mount our servo in. So these screws are a 4G 6mm long screw designed for sheet metal. They seem to do a reasonable job holding this servo into this resin material that I printed in. Now you can print that in any sort of plastic that you like, PLA, ABS, PETG, etc. I chose to do resin because I've actually started to become a fan of the resin printer, and I've been printing a lot more in resin. I've been using the Anycubic tough resin. It's a little more expensive than your basic resin, but it does take a bit of an impact, a hell of a lot better than your basic resins do. I also found that it comes in clear, which I found was really good. So that's our servo mounted, that's nice and easy. Now, to get this opening, a servo horn to fit that. This is your standard cross type horn, and that will fit in there quite nicely, except it's got these two sides. So we cut off those two sides and sand it down to create this. This is what I prepared earlier. We make sure we've got the spline side pointing up, and that fits into there quite nicely. We drill that out to, might have been 1.6mm, and these are a 1.8mm screw. They're very small. I don't have a pack here handy at the moment. I actually drilled these all the way through. You can just see the thread inside that plastic. Why I like this clear resin. You can see all the way through it. Now don't go over tightening this or you will snap the screw, and it can be a pain to get it back out again. Now you can see that the screwdriver will go through here. So we'll remove this screw from our servo. This is where I want my servo tester. So with this one, I can set 1500 microseconds, which is dead center. Plug in our servo, and that'll make sure our servo is centered in preparation. This is roughly in the middle, as close as I can get it anyway. It could go to the left more, but there's just not enough room in the enclosure to hold that servo that way. We will then mount this as close to square on as we can. Now we take our screwdriver and use that to install our screw through our hole. Okay, next install the HC SR04, and that's just a matter of pushing it in. It is a snug fit. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. And now we can use a wire. This one's got 4 conductors. I've got, in this case, blue, white, grey and purple. So VCC, I'm going to make the purple. The blue, I'll make the ground. And then we have trigger will be grey and echo is on the white. The other end, we can poke through our hole. and that's ready to wire back to our Arduino. If I switch this into sweep mode, this is how it's meant to operate. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we'll poke this wire back up through the middle. And out the back side here. And we'll do the same with the other wires. And to hold that down, we'll just use some more of these screws. Again, you don't want to over tighten these. You're only going into very weak plastic. That'll do for that. Okay, so on our Arduino, I'm going to connect these up to ground, volt, 5 volt. And I will put the grey, which is our trigger, on 7, and the white wire on 6. This is our wire from the servo. I'm going to plug that on to 8, and I will connect these two eventually up to 9 and 10, or 10 and 11. It really doesn't matter, but I'm not going to do it just yet because I want to get the bit of program for this working first. So I'll do that in the next video. If you like these videos, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. It's a form of support that helps the channel a great deal and costs you absolutely nothing. If you'd like to help the channel further, I do have a Patreon account, and you can join my patrons, Go Lucky and Lorenz Berger. They're my VIPs, and my Builder patron, Al Morales45, in helping to support the channel. If you have any questions, either leave a comment below the video or drop into my Discord. There will be a link in the description, and either myself or someone else can help answer your questions. And we'll see you in the next video.